Imagine a whole city just completely submerged in millions of tons of water.
Yeah.
Just municipal infrastructure completely paralyzed.
Yeah.
The roads are washed out, power grids are failing, and you've got tens of thousands of people huddled in these emergency shelters.
Right, with basically nothing but the clothes on their backs.
Exactly. And the traditional government rescue systems, which, they're usually massive and powerful, they're suddenly completely bottlenecked.
Bottlenecked by just the sheer chaotic geometry of a ruined city.
Yeah, precisely. And into this dangerous, really desperate vacuum, the first responders who actually managed to breach the floodwaters with a truckload of life-saving supplies, well, they aren't the military.
No, they aren't.
And they aren't some traditional NGO either. They are, and this is wild, a decentralized group of crypto and digital token traders from an online forum.
I mean, it sounds like the premise of a cyberpunk novel, right?
Right, it totally does.
But it's a very real, very documented paradigm shift in how we think about disaster relief. Because we are so accustomed to viewing the internet as this impermeable glass barrier.
Yeah, a place where we just, look at charts, trade tokens, argue about memes.
Exactly. And then you close the laptop. The messy, heavy physical world of survival is supposed to stay safely on the other side of that glass.
But when that glass shatters, we are suddenly looking at a scenario where digital bonds relationships forged entirely through screens and avatars are suddenly forced to carry the brutal, terrifying weight of raw human survival out in the real world.
It's really incredible to see.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a source document titled Consensus in Action, the Awake Community Flood Relief Effort. And our mission for you today is to pull apart this specific event and see exactly how an online group took a theoretical cryptographic concept and transformed it into physical, boots-on-the-ground action during a catastrophic natural disaster.
It's a fascinating transition from the digital to the physical.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand the friction of what this community pulled off, we can't just, gloss over the actual crisis.
Right. The environment dictates the necessity here.
We need to look at the terrifying scale of what triggered this response.
Because if we don't understand the physics and the sheer chaos of the deluge, the community's response just sounds like, I don't know, a polite charity drive.
Right, a bake sale or something.
Exactly, rather than what it actually was, which is a critical high-risk intervention. The context provided in our source material details a deluge of almost unimaginable proportions hitting China's Guangxi province, as well as the city of Hangzhou.
We are talking about continuous punishing rain, violent, unrelenting storms that didn't just cause localized puddling. I mean, the immediate cause and effect here is staggering.
It really is.
These storms push massive dams and gigantic water reservoirs past their absolute structural limits until they simply overflowed. You have entire cities actively going underwater, forcing thousands of families into urgent, frantic relocation.
Think about the physics of a failing or an overflowing reservoir for a second. You have millions of tons of water that is engineered to be entirely static.
Right, it's just supposed to sit there.
Yeah, and suddenly and violently it becomes dynamic. And water is heavy. It weighs over 8 pounds per gallon. So when a spillway overtops or a dam breaches, that weight acts like a bulldozer.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a bulldozer is a terrifying way to picture it.
It doesn't just get things wet, It crushes infrastructure, it rips up asphalt, and it completely reshapes the topography of a whole region overnight.
A lot of times when we talk about floods, people picture a slow creeping tide like coming up their front steps.
Right, just slowly rising water.
But I was looking at the topography of Guangxi, and the displacement isn't gradual at all. It is sudden, it's violent. So if we want a better analogy than just an overflowing bathtub inside a house, think about traditional large-scale emergency relief as a massive freight train.
Oh, I like that. A freight train is an excellent way to visualize municipal response.
Right, because a freight train is powerful. It can carry 10,000 tons of food, medical supplies, blankets. It is the ultimate heavy lifter. But a freight train is entirely dependent on its tracks. It needs a pre-existing, intact, centralized infrastructure to actually function.
That's the catch.
Yeah. If a bridge is washed out or the tracks are buried in mud, that massive train stops dead miles away from the people who actually need it.
And that right there is the bottleneck. The source text really highlights this vacuum of emergency supplies, because when tens of thousands of people flee with just the clothes on their backs, their demand for the absolute base level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs spikes instantly.
You're talking about clean water, thermal blankets, basic caloric intake.
Exactly. It spikes from 0 to critical in a matter of hours. And that freight train of traditional government services, it has protocols, it has staging areas and bureaucratic supply chains.
Yeah.
But when the roads are rivers, the train stalls.
And the people sitting in those relocation centers are just left agonizingly waiting. Like every hour must feel like a week.
Oh, absolutely.
This massive logistical failure demands an immediate, localized response, which I think brings us perfectly to the cultural framework that actually guided the reaction we are dissecting today.
Right. The cultural underpinning is key here.
The source document grounds this entire relief effort in a very specific cultural ethos. It introduces this famous Chinese proverb, "When trouble occurs at one spot, help comes from all quarters."
It is a foundational philosophy of mutual aid. And the text does point out that in the wake of the floods, various traditional organizations did step up. They provided financial aid and channeled necessary goods toward the disaster zones.
I am looking at that part, though, and I kind of have to push back a little on the modern interpretation of that proverb.
Okay, how so?
Well, because in our highly digitized society, help coming from all quarters usually just translates to a bunch of people sitting on their couches, seeing a disaster on the news, and clicking a donate button.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have basically engineered all the friction out of charity.
Yeah.
Like, I can send $100 to a disaster zone in 5 seconds from my phone. It makes me feel great. I feel like I did my part.
It's very passive.
Right. But a digital receipt does not keep a shivering child warm. You cannot eat a bank transfer. So when a city is literally underwater, isn't remote financial aid fundamentally disconnected from the immediate physical reality on the ground?
What's fascinating here is how the geometry of that proverb and the subsequent actions of the awake community actually counters that modern slacktivism.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, look at the phrasing. Help comes from all quarters. It implies a decentralized, omnidirectional swarm of support. So if the government response is that rigid freight train stuck on broken tracks, this cultural expectation is more like a swarm of off-road motorcycle.
Oh, I love that. They can navigate the broken terrain because they don't need the tracks.
Exactly that. Because when you just click a generic donate button, you are sending capital to a centralized hub.
Like a major NGO.
Right. Which then has to process the fiat currency, allocate it, bulk purchase goods, and then attempt to load them onto that exact same stalled freight train we just talked about.
Right, you're just feeding the bottleneck.
Exactly. But the deeper implication of the cultural blueprint described in the text is everyday people absorbing the friction themselves, taking collective responsibility. It's basically peer-to-peer survival. They bypass the central hub entirely.
And this idea of a decentralized peer-to-peer swarm is just the perfect logical bridge to what brought this specific online group directly to the floodlines. Because if there is one concept an online Web3 community understands on a cellular level, it is a decentralized network.
It is the architectural foundation of their entire existence.
Yeah. So the source introduces the awake community, and it specifically mentions LGNS holders. Now let's make sure we clarify this for everyone listening, just so we're all on the same page. In the context of this document, we are talking about a decentralized digital ecosystem. LGNS refers to a specific token or digital asset held by the members of this community.
Right.
These are folks who are heavily engaged in digital economies. They track market capitalization, they look at price charts, they participate in Web3 infrastructure. They are, by definition, inhabitants of the intangible digital world.
They gather around algorithmic consensus, cryptographic security, and tokenomics.
Yeah, very abstract stuff.
Exactly. It is an environment where value is traditionally defined by cold, numerical metrics.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The tech details that the volunteers from this awake community did not just pool their digital assets, convert them to fiat, and hit a donate button.
No, they didn't.
They physically mobilized. They traveled to the field, purchased the emergency supplies themselves, loaded the heavy cargo onto trucks, and personally drove them into the affected disaster zones to hand them to the people in need.
They became the off-road motorcycles. They bridged the ultimate gap between digital abstraction and physical necessity.
I have to admit, reading this, a part of me was immediately skeptical.
Really? Why?
Well, my brain immediately went to, wait, is this just a PR stunt? Are a bunch of token holders just trying to pump the value of their bags by taking a few photos with some boxes?
Yeah. We do see that kind of cynical marketing all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But when you actually break down the logistics of what the text says they accomplished, a PR stunt is usually engineered to be easy.
Right.
It is easy to write a big novelty check for a photo op.
Right.
It is incredibly, agonizingly difficult to organize a literal convoy of supply trucks in a flooded province.
Oh, absolutely. The logistics of a decentralized group executing physical action are a nightmare, which is why your skepticism is totally warranted, but it's also why their success is so compelling.
Yeah.
Think about the friction involved here. If there is no central CEO of the Awake community who acts as the primary organizer,
Who's in charge?
who holds the liability to sign the rental agreement for a 5-ton box truck? How do anonymous or pseudonymous forum members coordinate the transition of digital treasury funds into local fiat currency?
Especially to buy hundreds of blankets and crates of water in a region where the ATMs might literally be underwater?
Exactly. Someone literally has to put their real physical name on the line.
Yes, someone has to sweat. Someone has to navigate the muddy, washed out roads.
In behavioral psychology, we actually differentiate between passive empathy and active compassion.
What's the difference?
Well, passive empathy is looking at footage of the Guangxi floods on a screen and feeling a deep sense of sorrow.
Which is what most of us do.
Right. But active compassion requires the mobilization of the physical body. It requires the acceptance of severe friction to actually alleviate that suffering.
Wow.
By taking on the chaotic logistics, the procurement, the heavy lifting in severe humidity and pouring rain, they are demonstrating that the social bonds forged in their Discord servers or their Telegram chats are robust enough to withstand the stress test of a real-world catastrophe.
It completely flips the narrative of what an online community is actually capable of.
It really does.
It's not just a place to share memes and speculate on prices. The text specifically highlights how they view helping the needy, not as some side project for good optics, but as a fundamental responsibility baked into their identity.
Yeah.
They are a community that stands together in real life just as they do online.
It forces a complete reevaluation of their core terminology, moving from the mathematical to the moral.
Which brings us to perhaps the most fascinating insight in the document. This transition from the pristine, weightless digital space into the physical, dirty mud of a flood zone redefines the metrics of success for this group.
Totally.
The text explicitly contrasts the compassionate actions of these LGNS holders with the standard markers of their industry, charts and prices.
Right, the usual metrics.
The document argues that by stepping up in this physical way, they are proving their true value lies as empathy, love, and humanity. It concludes with this incredibly powerful, grounding mantra they use: build together, care together.
Build together, care together. It is a profound synthesis. They are taking the ethos of open source software building and applying it directly to human welfare.
So what does this all mean? When a decentralized network that ostensibly gathers around a digital token suddenly pivots to becoming a frontline disaster relief convoy, how should we understand that evolution?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to deeply analyze the word the text uses in its very title, consensus.
Consensus in action.
Yes, because in the digital Web3 world, consensus is a highly technical, often very cold term.
Yeah, it's just code.
Right, it refers to the specific mathematical mechanisms like proof of work or proof of stake by which a decentralized network of computers agrees on the true state of a ledger. It is the algorithmic solution to a lack of trust. It is how machines that don't know each other ensure nobody is double spending a token. It is purely math and code.
It's basically a mechanism to establish absolute truth without needing a central bank or a boss to tell you it's true.
Exactly. But what the Awake community has done, according to this document, is take this algorithmic concept and elevate it into a profound shared human reality. They have essentially taken consensus offline.
That is so cool. So true consensus in the context of this flood relief effort isn't about thousands of computer nodes verifying a block of encrypted data.
No.
True consensus is built in the mud. It is the shared, unspoken agreement among a group of disparate individuals that human life inherently matters more than a price chart.
It is the agreement that when someone is suffering, the network drops the digital tools and collectively lifts the physical boxes.
Yeah.
The operating system of their community is no longer just smart contracts. It is a shared moral imperative. They achieved a social consensus that entirely overrides the financial one.
It's a huge shift.
So when the text says consensus in action, it means their agreement as a community is validated not by a computer processor confirming a hash rate, but by the physical delivery of clean drinking water to a displaced family.
The validation is the survival of the people they helped. That is an incredible lens through which to view the future of digital community.
It really is.
We are constantly bombarded with warnings about how the internet is making us isolated, how social media and token trading disconnect us from our local physical realities. But this document presents the exact opposite scenario.
It presents the internet acting merely as the scaffolding for a deeply traditional, fundamentally human response to a crisis.
Right.
The digital community was just the staging area. The technology allowed them to pool resources, communicate instantly, and organize a swarm response faster than a bureaucratic freight train could lay down new tracks.
But the ultimate execution required human hands.
Exactly. They proved that a decentralized virtual world can have a massive, life-saving physical footprint.
It really makes you rethink the definition of an NGO or a non-governmental organization. Like maybe the NGOs of the future aren't massive, centralized charities with huge overhead and corporate structures.
That's a great point.
Maybe the future of crisis response relies heavily on these decentralized, hyper-agile digital communities that can pivot from trading tokens on a Tuesday to running logistics convoys on a Wednesday.
It is the ultimate realization of that ancient proverb we talked about. The quarters from which help arrives are no longer just neighboring towns or provincial governments.
Right, they're everywhere.
The quarters are now distributed across the globe, connected by digital ledgers, but capable of manifesting locally the moment the friction demands it.
So, to bring this all together for you listening today, we started by looking at the terrifying destructive physics of the floods in Guangxi and Hangzhou. We saw how overflowing reservoirs create a ticking clock of displacement, and how traditional centralized infrastructure can hit a massive bottleneck when roads wash out and demand skyrockets.
And we examined the cultural expectation embedded in that Chinese proverb about omnidirectional support. And really why the modern instinct of just clicking a digital donate button often completely fails to address the brutal physical friction of an immediate survival crisis.
Right, and from there, we followed the Web3 native awake community as they basically shattered the glass barrier of their screens.
Yeah.
We analyzed the heavy logistical nightmare they willingly took on, the renting of trucks, the purchasing of supplies, the physical toll of delivering aid directly to the front lines without a central boss dictating their moves.
And ultimately, we saw how that physical action redefined their own core concept of consensus, transitioning it from a cold, mathematical agreement about tokens to an active, shared compassion that prioritizes human life over digital charts.
It is a beautiful, surprising reality that the digital bonds we form online can, when tested by the absolute worst of nature, become literal physical safety nets.
Very inspiring.
And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. But before you take off your headphones, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
Yeah, think about the digital spaces you inhabit. The Discord servers, the Slack channels, the forums, the token communities you log into every single day.
The spaces where you might assume you were just there to look at market trends, share articles, or debate incredibly niche interests.
Right.
If an online community dedicated to digital assets can suddenly absorb the friction of a natural disaster, mobilize an ad hoc supply chain, and save lives during a catastrophic flood, well, what untapped potential for real-world impact is sitting entirely dormant in the digital communities you interact with?
What could that collective brain power and pooled resources accomplish in your own physical neighborhood if the network suddenly decided to step out from behind the glass?
It makes you wonder what kind of consensus you are really building with every keystroke.
It really does.
Because when the water starts rising, the screen isn't going to save anyone, but the community on the other side of it just might.